there's a financial risk, there's a construction risk. And I think that for most of our developers, we want to do everything because we think that we can make money from all the different aspects of development. From our experience, we have situations now where we insist that we want a contractor different from developer because we have had 1 or 2 bad experiences with developers doing everything. And so we said to developers, outsource your risk, your construction risk. Give it to credible contractors who are known. For the building that collapsed in Ikoyi, that was one of the issues. So give it to outsourcing, and then you can go to sleep because the contractor will give you a performance bond. The contractor will be the one to ensure that all the things that needs to be met, all the things that the parameters need to put in place are put in place. The construction will be done to standard. So if there are any issues, one, the contractor will be held liable, not the developer. Number one, the developer at the same time, I want to say, don't overtrade. You have several sites, and you at the same time you want to be the developer, the contractor at all the sites. Please, let's separate and manage our risks. Face your own area. You want to be the one selling. Face your sales and marketing. Let the contractor do the construction. And then you can also ensure that what needs to be put in place is put in place. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Very, very wonderful panel. You're very welcome. Let's welcome our SA and the representative of Mr. Governor with a round of applause as they join our panelists for photographs.
People do not like us.
All right, we'll also look for the managing director of the LSDPC to join this photograph. We put our hands together for him as he comes forward. Honorable Ayodeji Joseph, you're very welcome, sir. Salary Majority, that was a wonderful panel. A lot of very hot-button issues touched on. We talked about, what a disaster, what constitutes as a disaster. Safety, I thought it was really important that the safety.
Good afternoon, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. The Honorable Commissioner for Housing, Lagos State, my brother, Honorable Moduf Akinde, that popularly called Maf, who was a member of the House of Representatives before. The special advisor on housing by Mr. Bakari, Pansek, and may I also say that I'm here because Bakari and I have my brother over there, the MD LSDPC, who have worked very hard for my emergence as the senator representing Lagos Central. They were directors, he was the member of governing board of our campaign, a member of the finance, while she was the director of logistics. So I'm duty bound to just put as it were. They are good and my long-standing friend, Mark, the chairman of various local governments, especially Pele Shimo. I also extend courtesy to the various rectors there, Dr. Ololade Abuja, the Standard Laws, also the Fatih, I'm not the member, everybody's the best. Just know that I hold you all in high esteem. And then distinguished personality, good afternoon once again. Naturally, I wasn't told I'm going to deliver any speech. I thought I was going to come, enjoy the speeches, and interact, and probably, maybe I was going to keep home from Dr. Abuja. That was my intention. But that would not happen because she has said, no sheep homes. Once upon a time, housing was the bills and was dominated by government. When you look back to the times of Jacobi, it was the government building. Look at the time of Ashwadi Bola Ahmed Tinubu, look at Femi Okono, Mobolaji, Johnson, the Abraham Adesanya, everything were done by government. Look at during Fashola, the butterfly houses were done all over. And now it is Sanwo-Olu who is also trying. But in the last decade, the private investors, they have done very well. If you want to know what they've done, just look at the Lekki to Ajah corridor and see what kind of development they have brought to Lagos. We must thank you all and say thank you for all you do. It is not the intention of government, as it were, to make things unnecessarily difficult for you and for anybody in Lagos. Our intention is to make it seamless, but there are simple rules, simple things to follow, and I hope that you follow. So I have little tip. Last year, the thing is that I had the honor and privilege as the Deputy Speaker of Lagos State to be the one that moderated and then shared when last era was to be, the law was to be promulgated. I was one answering questions, even though I was not a rector. But if you are a legislator, you must try to know everything and you must try to understand everything. And that will let me speak to Mr. Fatimile, and he said there is need for amendment. Law generally are organic and dynamic. They are meant to serve purpose. And whenever there is need for amendment, do not wait for government for the amendment. Whatever is your suggestion, you can give it to the SA. You can write directly to Mr. Speaker of Lagos State House of Assembly. Believe you don't even need to draft. Those who are drafting, they have legal document over there. They will make the amendment if it is in the general public to so do. So the creation of tribunal, the whatever, please collate what you think is not even too good in the law. Make suggestion and write, and I assure you that it will be done. I also have that the mitigation of disaster, so to speak. I guess our rectors and investors should make use of insurance, either during construction or post-construction. This is one of the sure ways to mitigate because they as to serve as to ameliorate or mitigate the disaster if it so happen. And everybody has been spoken, especially the chairman of Koshove local government and Dele Oshino. They was talking about getting the necessary approval. For me, I even think that you take it further. If you are a big investor, a big property company, there is need for you to have a special advisor on government affairs who goes to the federal ministry to get your approval and let him have all the necessary contact, and he will do that on seamlessly. There is need because all your investments rests on the fact that you must get the necessary approval. If you don't so do, you are not too sure of what may happen. If you think it is important, and I think it is important, right from the questions, somebody must go to do your share. Somebody that will answer to you and not to himself, because he must tell you the truth of whatever he finds. Paying, getting your title deeds, going further for approval and what have you, you need somebody to be the go between your company and government. So builders, architects and co assembly, that will be his job, getting you. If that is not possible, I think the Nasera, the realtors themselves, your organization, you can appoint 3-4 people who can do that for you, and all of you can access their services. I think it is very, very important. And for Nasera, headed by Messe Housing, I think that advocacy and continual engagement of the stakeholders. Those who are playing very vital and prominent role is of utmost importance. Somebody mentioned it. I think it's very, very important to look at ways and means of continual engagement of these stakeholders, not a yearly thing, so to speak. This can be yearly, but all the areas of engagement and collaboration can be either quarterly as suggested or as deemed fit.
So because of time, we'll move right into our session. We're going to be having conversations around public-private partnerships and how this will help in really averting disasters. I mean, we've talked about several areas of disasters this morning. It's not just building collapse. You have financial disasters. You have people being displaced when it comes to disasters, whether it's natural, whether it's man-made, whether it's financial, and all of that. And I'm very happy that I have a very rich panel, and this was very deliberate to bring people who are working in government, private sector, and even Real Estate Developers Association of Nigeria, which I think that this really falls on their court. So I'll start with Dr. Hamid, right? So we're looking at how can we begin to execute on ensuring that there are less and less disasters happening. And I want you to look at this from the perspective of how the private sector should be working with government. Thank you.
This particular point is very, very interesting. We have a lot to do. There are a lot of lapses, and it's from the government, or starts from the government. After issuing the certificate of occupancy or approval, that should be the end of the attack. There is supposed to be an accountability department to checkmate what we are doing as a private sector. Apparently, my chairman said something here that greediness is one of the problems we are facing in the country. And whenever we have such things in our environment, it is very, very hard for us to get a lot of things right. So how do we reduce this? Because disaster is one of the things that is common right now. A lot of people are down due to recent evolution in the water access. Now, every developer should pass through government. After reaching the necessary certificates, are we going back to check it out? As a developer, a lot of people are giving approval to do it for, and they end up doing them. After they are considering everything that the one that gave me money is starting to take business, how would I be able to make? So probably we are going to come in a way that the money we are actually developing is in order for us to go extra mile beyond the level we need to want in order to develop. That's number one. Two, the second thing I think government should do is setting up an academic partner between legal association and government. They should inform them, they can do that as well. They can inform them in order to touch whoever that is doing against rules and regulations that govern all these people. Like I said, we have local government. Their unit to be in local government in order to monitor some environment. If you are there in Hausa, they might find it difficult to cover the entire environment. But they can have a unit in every local government SCC. And that one will be very close to whoever that is doing it and give monthly report on what is going on. By limiting them in Hausa, they might not really be effective. And at the same time, our guys said something here, our banks are too. While they are checking the private sector, they should be checking them because they are not giving approval to build. Are they actually giving the necessary approval with the right building to be erected before we get to financial disaster? So I think enforcement will come in. They should enforce the Lasera in order to expand their strength down to the local government level, to have more people on board to check what we are doing at industry. And also, if there is a way we can reduce some charges when it comes to the building, getting approval, necessary paper, And at the same time, before you can become a developer in Lagos State, such person is supposed to have a certificate from NAZEL. You can't just make money in Alaba or Osun and just consider and become a developer. You can't do this thing outside the country, only in Lagos State. We have more than 1 million developers that does not even know what is the size of the block. Because he make money somewhere and he just decide to join development. That shouldn't even be allowed. Lagos State can partner with Lagos Business School, own business school. If you want to become a developer in Lagos State, go through these courses for 3 months. Bring your certificate. It's one of the criteria. Lagos State will issue another certificate. How do you implement your business? It's as simple as that.
Thank you very much, Dr. Hamid. Well, let's go around and then we'll come back again for you to hammer on your point.
Honorable Shino is part of us and he spoke very well on behalf of our home constituency, because I was part of the Redor business. The Redor, if they are here, the Redors that build houses in Lagos State, if you say you have not met me and you don't know me, that means you have not crossed the T's and dot the I's. I happen to be the former general manager, Lagos State Material Testing Laboratory. Not met me, that means you have not done the needful, hard permission to what you should have done as rector. And I will tell you, how do we reduce financial loss? Very simple. If you get a land, what are you supposed to do? Somebody said it, you search. Is the land authentic? Is it made for the purpose which you want to use it for? Go to Ministry of Land Services. They will tell you we have a master plan. But where you go and purchase a land and your desire to build, that land is not meant for such. Now a day will come when government will open their books and they will ask you, who give you the permission to go and build there? You've taken a very wrong step. Secondly, before commencing on building, for crying out loud, you must do soil test. How many of us have gone that way to do soil test? The soil test will tell you which type of floors that your building can go. Material testing laboratory, as I talk to you, has one of the best equipment in Lagos State. If you go to them, they will satisfy your land. They will bring their equipment, take various soil samples at various levels, automated, and they will tell you which type of floor you can go. Sand, your cement, your steel, all those materials that are needed for construction, you must go and test them. Go and test your steel. Go and test their strength. Material testing has a very big, robust steel testing equipment in Lagos State, and if not in Nigeria, has time to be corrected. And I think somebody is looking at me as I talk. When you join the Redor, you know what he did? Eczema. He came to me. He said, Dr. Afolabi, I'm a very useful friend. He said, I don't want to go the way others are going. Please, you advise me on what to do. I said, don't worry. He invited me, I paid a visit to his site, and I asked him to come to my place, and I showed him around. When he saw our steering machine department, he bowed, and he said his company is going to help us to reconstruct that site we are using. On which he came and he did.
LSPC has been in this business for decades. right? I think you have been able to avoid some significant levels of disaster. You know, I don't know what the financial disaster may be, but in terms of how you have helped or how the agency averting disasters, mitigating it, and ensuring that there is continuous development for real estate.
Well, thank you very much. LSDPC is not just about money. We are about providing housing to the people. And when you talk about PPP, it's about the public and private. The private for profit, us on the government side to provide. And we try not to compromise. There is a particular project that we're doing somewhere in Nigeria. The contractors are saying they want to go as high as a particular level. And we are telling them, no, we're not going to do it if you don't go higher. That is another type of, disaster. Because if they go ahead, and after some years now, they have a lot of flood, and they will need to, instead of the value of the land, of the property, increasing, people will keep living. So we said no. So those are ways in which you can avert disasters. PPP is partnership. The private sector should not look at us as competitors or like we don't like them. Maybe when they feel we stress them over approvals. No. Like Mr. Lusodo said, we want to ensure everything is in order before we allow them to go to site. Have you ever heard of the collapse of any building from the government agency? You haven't. So why is it that way? So our private sector people too should cool down. It shouldn't just be about profit that you want to make, but make sure you do something that people will never forget. Those that built those houses that collapsed, I doubt anybody will want to buy houses from them. So let's take our time, and be patient. Even in America, in UK that we talk about, it's not the same thing that you put in your approval, that you put in your application that you get your approval. So please, let's calm down.
Thank you. Conversation, Barrister Adeoye. How can your organization, talking about the entire development or the developers in the country, how can you begin to partner such that we can reduce this level of disasters?
Thank you so much, and thank you for having me. I would like to start from the area of legal regulatory framework. And I want to commend Lagos State for having a very robust legal and regulatory framework. But I would like to say that we all know that ignorance of the law is not an excuse for anyone. Be that as it may, the robustness of the legal framework established by the state government under the custody of different departments that have been set up to handle such portfolios. I think that in the area of communication and engagement, rather have to engage more with governments. I want to give you an example. One of our members, he has CFO, he has layout approval, he has building approval for his projects, and recently, about, I think, close to 60 or 70 buildings marked for demolition in his estate. And his offense is having obtained building approval, governor consent, layout approval, he did not get drainage clearance. And the question is this: if I've obtained my building approval, that approval, and you are saying that I've not obtained drainage clearance. I thought it could be assumed that before the issuance of building approval, layout approval, at one point in the chain, this document will have gone within the government system itself for drainage clearance, instead of the developer spending money on obtaining building approval, layout approval, doing governor's consent, and at the end of the day, is being penalized for not obtaining the drainage clearance. So, in moving forward, we need to improve on engagements with the developers. We all know too that we have some sharp practices in the industry, and we cannot shy away from collaboration. And some of our members are also stubborn, because even when you mark their building and you say stop work, they are not stopping construction. So when you now look at everything together, I think that who suffers some of this mishap? The consumers. And if the developer probably his brand will be affected, but what about the off-takers, the consumers? How are we protecting them? What are we doing to ameliorate their risk? And I think that could be another subject for discussion. But for PPP, as it were, I think that is the way to go. And collaboration have to continue to go on. I read 2 days ago, Enzima Properties and NSDPC signing a robust agreement on development. This is the way to go. Because I mean, the money I'm going to use to buy that land, I may use it for development. If government is going to partner with me, then we have to do it right. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Houses, then I'm going to create a lot of disasters. So from MKH point of view, I think most of us who are claim developers today may or do not know anything about construction. And so if we then bring enforcement in place, I think that's a misplacement of priority. I think the order of priority should be more advocacy. So we want to appreciate Lasera so much for creating more of them, because real estate in Nigeria already is already a disaster that we need to amend or correct. Globally, when you tell clients to come and buy properties in Lagos or anywhere, they tell you too much risk. But if we can go the route that Lasera is taking us now, create much of advocacy and education, then the acclaimed developers will become more aware of what to do and what not to do. And I also want to say that the fact that you have money to invest in properties, you have to define your role. A developer is different from a building contractor. A building contractor went to school to study to become an engineer in whatever field. A developer may be an investor. And so the fact that you have money to invest in real estate doesn't make you an engineer who can monitor a construction project. And that's where most of the mistakes come from. I think earlier this year, some of the things we have done as an organization was to seek more education. And in June, we were in South Korea for 2 weeks, Nigeria-Korea Real Estate Exchange Study Week. And we saw how real estate is simplified. I mean, the Korean government and the private developers boasting of building over 1,000 skyscrapers in 9 years. 1,000 skyscrapers. Until today, they don't have any issue of collapse or whatever. So how did they make this work? It started from regulation, number one. Then number two, it started from planning. Just like the example our incoming chairman gave. If we don't plan, especially from the government now, every land in Lagos State has been marked. So the planning must precede whatever approval. And that's what the people need to learn also. I need to know where drainages should be and where it is not. I need to know where the coastal road is falling into or where it's not. And so once we have regulation, number one, and two, planning, and number three, a structure that enforces that planning and regulation is working, then funding and marketing or selling will become simplified. And that's what, I deduce from the whole learning from South Korea. They have the MOLIT, which is the ministry in charge of land. Then they have the HOG, which is the ministry in charge of bringing together developers to obtake landmass of projects. And then they bring in all the government regulators to make sure that the marked area is developed with a timeline and proper monitoring. So I think if we can also invite such structure in Nigeria, it will be simple for us to develop and to sell our properties, because Lagos is a big hub. I want to say lastly that I want to think that the worth of real estate assets in Lagos State is more than what CBN has in its vote presently right now. And so if we are joking with that, that means we are not serious as a people. Because the asset here is transgenerational and must be planned for us to maintain and create wealth out of it. Thank you.
Now we're pushing for insurance, project insurance. I feel so much for people buying properties. At the end of the day, disaster happens and nobody has their back. So I think we need to address that. And it's not about just the developer, it's not just about the government, but about our customers. And we need to do something about it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Rotimi, your parting shot.
Thank you. I think the wars we're going to fight, both in the present and the future, are more of food, home, fuel, and planning is very, very much required. So I want to take an example with Uber, a transport company. Most drivers who drive Uber are controlled from just an app. And from there, everything happens. So I want to say if Lastrera can come up with an Uber strategy to control and regulate real estate developers. And I mean, you need to rate developers, you need to delist the developers, you need to publicly shame developers, you need to take some persons to prison so that the market is sanitized and without more safety. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rotimi. Dr. Afolabi.
Thank you very much. Incoming president, you have a job on your hands. And you have seen everybody. And all that has been said today is pointing at you. First, Lastrera, you need to remove shaft from the graves. And that is exactly what you have just said. There should be a very big synergy, collaboration between you and the government. And I'm happy Housing is here. LAPCA, if they are not here, they will be here tomorrow. LASPA, they will be here tomorrow. Material testing, they will be here tomorrow. So one thing you guys didn't know is the water you use in mixing your build materials is very important too. If it is alkaline, if it is acidic, you must know. But how many of you go and test water used on site? The water you use on site and the cement you use, you must corroborate the two of them. The steel, if you use acidic water to mix, engineer, you know what I'm talking about, there will be corrosiveness, and the steel, when it is corroded, the time limit, it will not last, it will collapse. So please, we need to do this. Enforcement should not be done by the government alone.
ST, first.
As a Nigerian who lived in the United Kingdom for a while, I share the experience of many diasporans who have dreams to come to Nigeria to invest. Most importantly, of course, they want to come to the Center of Excellence, the city of Accra Splendor, the state with the best governor in the whole of Africa, who is dynamic, who is envisioning, who is passionate about providing solutions for his people, Governor Babajide Olusola Sanwo-Olu. Lagos not just being the home of Nollywood, Afrobeat, and the home of the Blue Line, the Red Line that is coming, the home of the Badagry Seaport, the home of Dangote Refinery, is also the home of, or it's also called the fifth largest economy in Africa, and also the startup capital of Africa. This Lagos, our Lagos, is the diaspora's destination for investment, especially in the area of real estate. Now, what are the opportunities for the diaspora? Because the appreciation of real estate in Nigeria, especially in Lagos, that we have seen the fastest growing real estate corridor in Africa, in Lekki access, the appreciation of value there is so great. They want to come and invest in Nigeria, want to come and invest in Lagos. But when they come, they usually have some funny experiences. But under the leadership of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, trust and hope has been renewed. And since Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu has come into office, they have more confidence now. With leaders in the LFDPC, in Lagos homes, in lands, we have people that they can now trust, and housing, lest I forget. They trust them because they know them. They know them because they see the good work they are able to produce. Trust is a very important thing when it comes to real estate. Before they will give money to their brothers, their sisters, their aunties, their uncles, their friends to invest in real estate. And as the popular slogan goes, Ochilo. The money develops wings and goes, it flies away. Even their own mothers, their own fathers, their brothers and sisters betray them. We don't want to see that happen again. That's why I believe this idea is one whose time has come. Working with the special advisor on housing and also the Honorable Commissioner, we've come up with an idea called the Lagos Diaspora Trusted Developers Initiative. Lagos Diaspora Trusted Developers Initiative. And as the name suggests, it is trying to ensure that people can see a government and its people that they can trust. We are going to have a database which is linked to La Sierra's database of developers that we know where they are coming from, what standards and guidelines and ethics of professionalism that they adhere to. Now, we've been talking about developers. Some have said some architects go into development, builders go into development, agents go into developments, people who find money just go into developments. But a developer is someone who improves the use of building of our land. It takes it from one state to a better state, either through renovation, alterations, whatever that it will do to improve the use. It usually puts it to the highest and best use. And that is what we want to see, people who understand the business. So let's say you're a developer and you want to attract the diaspora, who, by the way, remits over $25 billion to the Nigerian economy yearly. This year has been a dip because of the exchange and the economic crisis globally, but they consistently deliver over $20 billion into the Nigerian economy. And $20 billion, I would say, no be small, you know. It is something very significant. It is the third largest foreign exchange contributor to the Nigerian economy. It is bigness. After oil, after agriculture, you talk about diaspora remittances. And I must say that most of you developers who are here, you know that the diaspora, they are the ones buying a lot of your properties. And if you are not selling or marketing or creating products that the diaspora wants, then you know you are missing out on a big opportunity. Mr. Governor through LSDPC has launched a diaspora desk in LSDPC. Can you give them a round of applause? Under the leadership of our Honorable CEO, Mr. Ayo, Honorable Ayo. He saw that it is important because many diasporas want to go into JVs with individuals, with people, but they rather go into JVs with what? The government. The government that they can trust. And trust is a key factor. The challenges are there, the risks are involved, but with the Lagos State Diaspora State Development Initiative, all that is mitigated. You can go in the previous website. It is mitigated because we are going to have a rating model that I've come up with. The rating model suggests simple. You are going to be rated either 5-star developer or 1-star developer. God forbid you are 1-star developer. The model is based on this. T stands for transparency. Are you clearly communicating and giving digital updates of what I said earlier? Do you have regulatory compliances? Do you adhere to regulations and with timely approval? Do you have an unwavering integrity? Do you employ sustainable practices? And are you known again for that trustworthiness factor? Now, as we go up, you can scroll up a bit. The 5-star will be someone that is exceptionally trusted. 4-star is someone who is highly trusted. 3-star, moderately trusted. 2-star, somewhat trusted. And 1-star, least trusted. So by registering your development company with La Sierra and the Ministry of Housing, and then through the diaspora desk, which has also been initiated there, you can give them a round of applause. The leadership of Marv and our honorable Baraka. They are proactive. They will make your agency, your company, and they will tell the diaspora, the international community what you're truly made of. And this will lead to competition. It will lead to individuals in the built environment to begin to adhere to the highest possible standards. So this Lagos Diaspora Trusted Developer Scheme is something that has come now and it has come to stay. I will encourage developers, sign up with on the La Sierra website, sign up with Lagos State Diaspora.ng/trusted developers. Whatever information we get there will be passed on to the Ministry of Housing, the LSDPC, Lagos Homes, everyone coming together to ensure that the diaspora's experience in this center of excellence truly is an excellent one. Because Dr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu wants to ensure that his team's agenda for a greater Lagos rising is not just limited to the beautiful city of Lagos Island or Ibeju-Lekki or Ife or Victoria Island or Badagry, but also the diaspora. And I must say when I talk about Badagry, that there is good news coming to those in Badagry. Because many of you know that the Badagrians have a lot of diasporic heritage. You know, do you have any Badagry people here? You are here, okay, I can hear you. Well done. So Badagrians know that a lot of slavery and experiences that they have been occurring here, but now, through the government setting this office of Lagos State Diaspora affairs, he's encouraging more diasporans, African Americans, Brazilians, people from around the world to come and see Lagos. Come and experience Lagos to the Ministry of Tourism, but more now, come and invest in Lagos. And once they come to Lagos, they need somewhere to live. We know that through Lagos Homes and through the Ministry of Housing, there are phenomenally great deals in real estate in Badagry area. And through speaking to the ES of land, she mentioned that they're going to have a scheme there that diasporans can also tap into. So, to surprise you that the Jackson family ahead bought a lot of land in the Badagry area. And there are many families who are coming to build there because they know that the Badagry deep sea port, under the traditional leadership of Dr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu, is going to be built there in the no distant future. And what would that happen? To increase the land values and increase the values of the regulation. That is what is from the future. Developers start thinking of results, start thinking of transforming the Lagos real estate landscape through this Lagos State the Trusted Developer Scheme. I want to thank everyone for this opportunity. Thank the Honorable Commissioner, thank the City Senators, thank every single person, and thank most importantly, Mr. Governor. God bless you all.
Because I know that there is not. Now, whether you like it or not, regulation cannot happen without data. We have operated in a very opaque market for a long time. And this is part of the reason why LASRIRA is engaging. So the question is, what is LASRIRA planning to do with all the data? So beyond just trying to get you to be licensed, beyond the mitigating of natural disaster, there is a need to understand and dimension how the market operates. And move on to the next slide, please. And COVID has come to stay. And so with COVID, we learned a lot of new technologies. We learned a lot of new ways. We learned, it redefined our new normal. And so we cannot think that we will continue to do real estate business without technology. I know that there are always laggards at the end of the chain who don't want to get into technology or data. Go back to the next slide. Now, this slide becomes very, very important. What I'm trying to show with this slide is that across this value chain, whether it's access to land and up until maintaining the property, there is a data collection point. And this is what LASRIRA is trying to achieve beyond just registering you, beyond just certifying you, is to know everybody who is in this business. And what happens when we have data at the back end? With artificial intelligence and machine learning, it means that as a developer, if you wanted to know even house price indices before you get into a development, you can get all of that information at the LASRIRA portal. So this is why data becomes very important. Now, in post-disaster mechanism, next slide please. Now, I mean, all of you who are in project manager or managing disaster, you know that this is a framework that that is used for disaster management and emergency management, right? You have the prevention, you have the mitigation, you have preparedness, you have response, and you have recovery. At each point of this framework is a data collection point. If you do not have data, if you don't know what is happening within the real estate market, there is no way, for example, that government can help to provide even some sort of amelioration or financing for the people who are involved. And so it becomes very important that at the back of your mind, again, like I said during the panel session, data regulation is not about punitive measures. We cannot continue to be in the dark. You know, when they talk about transparency in real estate. Next slide, please. And so it's also very important, right? No, stay on this one. Leave the SDG. Go to the next slide, next slide. And so my work here, really, this afternoon, is to encourage everyone, based on what we have said earlier, right? That, I don't know how many of us can see the bottom of the presentation, is that we want people to register just so that we can continue to have data in the market. And once you have data in the market, it means that financing can become really, really easy, because investors don't want to operate in a dark environment where they can't see anything. What data does is like stumbling in the dark, and then you put on the light, you flick on the light, and immediately you see how things are disorganized. And that's what LASRIRA is really trying to do by asking you to register and to power with them. I think that's the conversation I wanted to share, or that I've been asked to share with you guys. Thank you very much for listening.
Distinguished Senator of Federal Republic of Nigeria, my dear brother, the distinguished Senator of Federal Republic of Nigeria, representing Lagos Central Senatorial District, my dear brother and leader, Senator Wasiu Yeshikokusa, the Special Advisor to the Governor on Housing, our Amazon, our hostess, volcanic barrister Barakat Akari, special advisor to the government, representative of Alailua of Iwan Akebu, represented here by the Bureau of Lagos and the of Lagos. Body of Permanent Secretary, here present particularly Permanent Secretary Housing, Engineer Abdul Hafiz Bola Toyola, and our own PS Lance, I know I'm trying to look for one particular word. Because we borrow lands, we still look at him as one of us, Mr. Kamaru Oluwoshago, Managing Director LSDPC, GM Lagos Mortgage Board and their management, Chairman LBIC Mr. Akim Oguniro, Head of Agency, their President and Government, particularly the LMP, so captains of industries and stakeholders in the goods sector, particularly the founding partner, Dia Fatimlei and co-Mr. Boyega Fatimlei, founding partner, Estate Minister Limited, Mr. Boyega Olaniyan, MD CEO, Gracia Limited, Dr. Olade Valentina Abuta, Chairman Agboiketu, Mr. Adele Oshinowo, distinguished invited guests, gentlemen of the press, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I'm here to represent Mr. Governor, who is to join professionals and stakeholders in the goods industry at this 4th edition of the Lagos Real Estate Marketplace Conference and exhibitions organized to provide insight into the investment opportunities in the real estate sector in Lagos State. I'm happy to note that this conference, which started 4 years ago, has become a veritable platform for key industry players in the business sector to review trends within the profession and provide possible and sustainable solutions to identify and emerging challenges. The themes for this year's conference: real estate regulation, a panacea for disaster mitigation and recovery in the built industry, is quite apt as it escapulates the state dedication to fostering an environment of regulatory excellence and resilience within the real estate industry. This does not only propel the industry forward, but also contribute significantly to the advancement of our shared goal as a community. As we convene today, the urgency of addressing the impact of well-regulated real estate sector is more apparent than ever. The built industry, a cornerstone of social economic progress, is facing unprecedented challenges which make or mar. It is within this context that we deliberate on the transformative potential of regulating the real estate sector. This will serve as a panacea for not only mitigating risk that could result from disaster, but also facilitate a transparent and enabling environment for the licensed practitioners within the industry. Our cities bear witness to the repercussions of unregulated development and the vulnerability of inadequately constructed structure to the force of nature. This conference will also stand as a testament to the collective acknowledgement that a strategic, comprehensive approach to real estate regulation is not a luxury, but an imperative for sustainable growth. We embark on a journey to explore how effective regulation can act as a shield fortifying society against the avoidable challenges posed by unregulated development. Real estate regulation in its traditional sense has often been seen as the framework of rules and guidelines governing transactions and developments within the industry. Today, we challenge ourselves to view regulation through a different lens, an instrument of change, innovation, and resilience. Our deliberation will span the spectrum from the review and enhancement of building codes to the encouragement of sustainable practices and the cultivation of a culture that prioritizes disaster resilience in every facet of the built industry. A significant step that we have taken in this regard was the signing of the amended Nasarawa law in February last year. This law recognizes the pivotal role which real estate and regulation plays in disaster investigation. It is extremely important that we continue to emphasize the need for all players in the build sector to avoid undermining established rules, processes, and procedures, but abide by all regulations guiding real estate practice, including the Nasarawa laws and other related regulations. Through comprehensive regulation, we can expedite the building process, ensuring structural integrity so that individuals and families can restore their homes and livelihood promptly. Also, by implementing measures such as licensing and certification, which is being undertaken by Nasarawa, we can ensure that professionals in the build industry adhere to ethical standards and possesses the necessary expertise. This will not only ensure consumer confidence, but also promote fair competition and quality assurance. As a government, we are resolute in our determination to ensure full implementation of all zero tolerance policy against non or partial compliance with Nasarawa laws and regulations and standards in the build industry in order to sustain investors' confidence in the real estate sector. Furthermore, in order to minimize the risk of disasters and enhance the resilience of structures, it has become compulsory for relevant authorities to require individuals and organizations to purchase insurance coverage against natural disasters. We will adopt a holistic approach that combines regulatory measures with other strategies to achieve more comprehensive disaster mitigation and recovery outcome. Real estate regulation, when wielded effectively, becomes a shield against the vagaries of the industry. It begins with the establishment of stringent building codes and standards that ensure our structures are not just habitats, but fortresses capable of withstanding the tumultuous winds, flood, and quakes that nature may unleash. Through systematic zoning and land use policy, we can intelligently plan our urban space, steering development away from high-risk areas and minimizing the potential for disaster-induced damage. As I conclude, let us all know that prioritizing safety, enforcing building codes, and promoting transparency, we can create resilient communities that are better equipped to withstand and recover from disasters. Let us work hand in hand to advocate for robust real estate regulation, for it is through our collective effort that we can build a safer and more sustainable future. As we embark on this intellectual journey over the next 2 days, I encourage you all to engage wholeheartedly, share insight, and challenge conventional wisdom. The diversity of thought and experience within this room is our greatest asset. And it is through the exchange of ideas that we will uncover innovative solutions and forge a path toward a more resilient, sustainable future. I congratulate the Special Advisor on Housing, Barrister Barakat Odunuga Bakari, and our team for successfully organizing this year's conference and exhibitions. I wish you all a fruitful deliberations. Thank you for this.
Major aspects that is very important that I see government is actually playing low about. I happen to work in an insurance company for 13 years before starting a real estate company. And I know the importance of insurance when it comes to construction of projects and also real estate at large. But so far so good, I have realized that majority of the disasters that we're having when it comes to real estate industry, most of them, when you dig down into some measures that have been put in place, you will realize that insurance have been a part that a lot of developers have not put in place. For instance, when we talk about the contractors all risk insurance, it has a reason why that insurance is important when it comes to construction of a project. And what that means is that when a contractor is embarking on an insurance on a construction project, the contractor also needs to have an insurance that is called contractor all risk, to protect everything the contractor is going to be doing on site. And I've seen a lot of developers also always afraid of the fact that if I give a contractor my contract to do, I don't know if this contractor can run away with my money. And I ask myself the question that where do we place an advance payment bond, where you advance a certain amount of money to a contractor and the contractor are mandated to provide an advance payment bond. Most of all the projects we do, we ensure that even before we give you a dime, before we give you any check for you to move to site, you must provide an advance payment bond in order to protect us, because all these funds that we're investing into construction projects are all investors' funds. And in terms of builders' liability insurance, all these are some insurance policies that can be put in place to protect any risk or damages that could occur. Look at all these houses that have been demolished or collapsed as we speak. If there are proper insurance in place, what you just need to do is to write a claim letter to your insurance company to pay all the damages that have happened. Personally, I have been part of the people that have benefited from insurance when it comes to insurance policies, and I have received a lot of claims when it comes to insurance. I think it is high time government needs to create, I don't know, maybe it's going to be a unit in the government part to ensure that every building that is being erected outside there are having insurance. Because if you look at all these owners of the buildings that will collapse, that will lose life, all those things can be protected with insurance policy. Thank you.
The Marcella for putting up this stakeholders engagement. It is thoughtful and timely. If you agree with me, the whole world is moving into crisis, and of course, Lagos State is not left behind. However, it's good for me to inform this gathering that the Lagos State government, under the leadership of His Excellency, Mr. Governor, Mr. Babajide Olushola Sanwo-Olu, has provided a new environment for all of the emergency managers to be able to recover, to respond, in fact, to carry out all of the 5 areas of disaster management, which of course includes prevention, disaster mitigation, disaster preparedness, disaster response and recovery. So when I saw the theme of this year, stakeholders engagement, I elated because it speaks to the problem that we have. It's good that we have a government agency that is taking proactive action in this regard. You know, it's first of its kind. I don't think any other state have such plans. However, speaking to the questions, the Lagos State government has one for insurance. Number one, it provides enabling environment for all of the insurance that all the realtors and the real estate providers access. Number one. Number two, it's good for me to inform this gathering again that that is a plan that is in offering. A new window of insurance policy is coming on board. In disaster management, that is what we call disaster risk transfer. And of course, insurance tools are going to be one of the tools for insurance, risk transfer. So it simply means that what we call insurance financing and risk transfer. We're looking at collaborating with multinational and group of investors from foreign currency this time around. They are coming with multi-million-dollar investment that will promote resilience across every sector that is susceptible to, of course, disaster. You agree with me that a beauty sector is one of the sectors that experience disaster. Some time ago, it's almost every now and then we have building collapse. And you can imagine the number of investment that is going down the drain. But the government of this administration have not only gone out of the box, but they seek investment in insurance to transfer your risk. So in this case, every natural disaster that happens, because sometimes you might have done all of the regulation and the likes, all your papers and everything is okay. But of course, disasters still happen, buildings still fall. You've got your back cover in Lagos State, and I'm happy to share that with you. And I know very soon, the LASRA, which is the regulatory body, of course, will be linking up with LASEMA and other agencies in that regard. So Lagos State is there for us. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Sometimes when there is a claim for maybe something that has happened or something, most of them don't consult the professionals when it comes to insurance. Because writing a claim notice alone to an insurance company can make you not to get any claim. And apart from that, when it comes to, transacting in the first place, getting an insurance company that will secure your risk for you, you have to put some conditions in place, you have to put some criteria in place by selecting the right insurance company that they have capacity to pay claim. One thing about insurance is that insurance is like when you're playing a gamble. It's either you win or you lose. And the majority of the premiums being paid by a lot of people are being classified based on the certain insurance classes that it belongs. So it is the majority of premium paid that take care of one particular risk that has happened. So if you didn't put your insurance policy in an insurance company that they have the capacity to pay claim, then it becomes difficult when claim arises, because you cannot determine when claim will occur. The probability that claim will occur tomorrow is not certain. So they themselves don't know if they are going to pay claim tomorrow or next. So while you're giving your policies to any insurance company, be guided on the type of companies that you give your insurance policy to, so that you can prevent claim payments before the risk occur. And that will solve it.
Thank you very much.
When you said engineer, I was wondering. I'm going to speak to insurance and risk management generally in real estate. But I'd like to just make a general observation, which is to congratulate Laceria for the theme for this year. That's very critical because today, globally, real estate transparency is very critical. And if you look at the global index for 2022, there are 6 parameters, 6 drivers of transparency, and regulation is 2 of them. It's also interesting that if you read our report, Laceria was specifically mentioned as one of the organizations doing good things in Nigeria, which is why we now rank 60 out of 90. So I think that in terms of advocacy, it's critical that we ramp up whatever we say here, so that by the time they do the ranking for 2023, they know that we have made some more progress, and maybe that will impact more on what we are currently doing. Thank you very much. Generally, and I think a lot has been said about insurance, I think the point that we need to know is that for real estate, insurance falls into 2 broad categories. You either do property insurance or liability insurance. And the difference between the 2 of them is that for property insurance, the indemnity is in favor of the insured. So if you are the developer or the contractor, if you do property insurance, the indemnity is in your favor. But if you do liability insurance, the indemnity is not in favor of the insured, but in favor of a third party who will claim under that policy. And that distinction needs to be noted very clearly. Now, generally about risk in real estate, we always say there are 3 drivers of real estate growth, 3 R's: risk, return, and regulation. The reality of the matter is that risk impacts not just risk itself, it impacts return, it impacts regulation. Because when you have the complexity, for example, of the risks will drive the complexity of the regulation and environment. There are some things that in Nigeria now we have to make laws about, we don't bother about in other countries. For example, land grabbing. Land grabbing became such a major issue that we have to enact a law on land grabbing. As a practitioner in this industry, I think insurance is one of the ways to mitigate your risk. But I think the more pragmatic way is to always have a risk template. Just like we are taught in corporate governance, you need to have a risk template. That template helps you, and I always advise that you do your template on a quarterly basis. The risk template, you identify your risks. So typically, there are some major risks that in the industry. So there is title risk, there is the market risk, there is finance risk. Identify all those risks. You define your risks, you define the mitigants, and in case those risks crystallize, what are the recovery measures that you need to take? And that's very important for all of us as practitioners in the industry. We have to take time out. One of the things I do in my business is I take adequate time out to focus on risk management. Because at the end of the day, when those risks crystallizes, as we have seen in all these demolitions, and by the way, I agree with my sister on the issue of demolition. Demolition is good for enforcement after buildings have been built, but I think it is better not to allow them to build those buildings. I think it's much better because every demolition is a loss to the economy. So when we have a proactive compliance mechanism in place that prevents them from building those buildings, I think it's better for all of us. I think at the end of the day, the important thing is that if we must reduce the risk in the industry, we also need to step up on regulatory enforcement. And part of the challenges today is that people believe that they can get away with anything. So we see building collapses everywhere, every time. Have we prosecuted anybody? So we need to take, and I like the comment that we need to begin to shame developers. I mean, I have a background in UAC, so you can imagine, I did 25 years in UAC, and about procedure, about compliance, about everything. But there are people who believe that they can get away with everybody. And I've been listening to everybody castigating developers. You'll be surprised that It's a small percentage of developers who are doing. There are a lot of developers in this industry who do the right thing. They do the right thing, they go for approvals. I know that there are people who believe that I buy my land, I do due diligence, I do my permitting approval with Lagos State Physical Planning Authority. Before I proceed to site, I go to LABSCA to get permission to do this. I go to Safety Commission as the law has prescribed. And I think that ultimately, any developer, any builder who follows one of the things that, one of the benefits you find in Lagos, you don't find in all the other states, is that the building code has been largely codified in Lagos State. If you look at the urban regulations 2019, in Lagos State, the one creating LABSCA and LASFA, all those regulations there are there. There is no way you follow those regulations to the letter and you will run into problems as you see. So one mitigant against those risks is to ensure regulatory compliance so that you don't run into problems in the long run. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Opportunity. I also want to thank Laseria for putting this together. Insurance is very, very important, and but I would like to advise the Lagos State government to see how to review the land, the laws governing land transactions in Lagos State. We need to look into that laws and update the laws so that it can accommodate the current trend and what needed to be done, because information is very, very important. And like it has been said, every project must be insured. Pre-development, during development, post-development must be insured. It shouldn't be a case that the project is on and after collapse, there wouldn't be anything, no compensation to builders, and so insurance must be part of documents that must be submitted for approvals. It must be there, and compliance is very, very important. And in the area of compliance, when you know that there is consequences for anything done, you usually sit up and then do the right thing. When project or property development has gone a little bit collapsed, nothing is done, and everybody just feel that, okay, I can come up with any project, but there should be consequences. It's very, very important. There should be, everybody should be whipped to line. Government has got the architecture to bring everybody to line. In the Western world, you can't build without having your project insured.
What the government doing about taxation and matters relating to taxation. And I told her, I'm going to say the governor of the state as a chair is not doing any taxation anymore. And the reason is not far-fetched. We are getting a lot of applications from private companies, individuals, that are not even related to the community that are supposed to have the application kit. So what the government did is that, so for now, we're going to put a stop to that. But like I said to her, that it doesn't matter, we'll come back as a body private to that and sit down and see what we can do. But principally, before you buy any land in Lagos, please check your title. It's important. It is very important. And for whatever reasons, people don't just check titles, they go to, I don't want to say land grabbers as a trade, but because you call them moneyless. But as a trade, check your title, make sure the title is good before you buy the land. And luckily for us in Lagos, Mr. Governor has graciously supported land so that we're going digital. So it's going to be not very easy. So most of your searches will be done online with the comfort of your home. You can check the title. So we'll come back tomorrow with that and then we'll talk about it as well. Just
the Governor of Lagos State, ably represented by the Honorable Commissioner for Housing, my boss, the Senator representing Lagos Central, Senator Wasiu Eshiodun, the SA, and may I just stand on existing well-established protocol. I think first of all is to congratulate the Special Advisor Housing for organizing this event, which I think is another way of enlightening the stakeholders in the big sector, which is very, very critical. And actually all our panelists mentioned it, that we need to do a lot of enlightenment to be able to educate the stakeholders in order for them to align with the rules and regulations of the state. And we must not also forget the chief agenda of Mr. Governor. And we all need to work on that by making Lagos a 21st century economic. And so organizing this event is very critical for us to mitigate against disaster when it comes to big industry. And that is why the topic is very, very critical considering what is happening in Lagos and all over the world at the same time. So my job is very simple. It's just to give a closing remark. Closing remark in this sense is just to thank everybody, virtually all the stakeholders, including all our panelists. And I think it is very critical to say that I'm very, very happy on behalf of the Lagos State Government Ministry of Housing, just to say a word by saying thank you, everybody. Thank you very much.